Hey guys, Jackdaw here in the flesh. Now that I am more settled in the United States and I've got a few more general setup upgrades like this here new beautiful microphone, I want to do more personable, relatable vlog style videos where I get to really delve into a topic and ramble about Dragon Age 4 and really just have these much needed conversations. As of which, today I'm talking about Dragon Age 4's development and how the game will not share Anthem and Andromeda's largest downfalls, instead talking about how actually BioWare have learnt from both these experiences going forward. You see, thanks to Jason Schreier's many reports on Anthem, Andromeda and the next Dragon Age, there are many indicators that the developers working on the next Dragon Age game are not going to make the same mistakes this time around. If you know anything about Anthem and Andromeda's development hell, you'll know that they basically shared the same pattern and mistakes that ultimately led to the game's failure. What are these mistakes and how has BioWare learned from them going forward? Well, let me tell you. The first major downfall was the fact that both games were created within 18 months of development due to prolonged pre-production stages. Anthem was in development for nearly 7 years, but didn't actually enter production until the final 18 months. And this is all thanks to big narrative reboots, major design overhauls, and a leadership team that was unable to provide a consistent vision and unwilling to listen to feedback. Whereas Mass Effect Andromeda was in development for around 5 years, but by most accounts, BioWare built the bulk of the game in less than 18 months. And this was thanks to the Frostbite Engine's limitations, scrapped mechanics, internal politics between two different teams, and ultimately a failed prototype. Regarding the next Dragon Age 4's development, which we know 10 times over, the original iteration was known as Joplin. However, it was rebooted to suit live service and a multiplayer component, which follows a new iteration known as Morrison, which is a code name you should get used to when I'm referring to Dragon Age 4's current development, which is the current iteration that is in the works right now. Project Joplin had begun its early pre-production stages around late 2015, straight after the Trespasser DLC. After 2 years of work invested into this project, it was scrapped in late 2017. Project Morrison will have picked up sometime after that, as a very small skeleton team works on the very early stages of this game. It's a bit of a minefield to try and work it out, but I would say around May 2019 was when the Anthem developers were then shuffled back to Dragon Age 4's Morrison to then begin its early production stages. Now, I must reiterate that it is really unknown how much of Joplin's work actually went into Morrison. There's almost over 2 years of work into that project, so surely some of it will cross over, but we really just don't have a clue. I would say we can confirm that Morrison has been in production for around 3 years, given that it started in 2017. However, around 2017 to around 2019 will have been pre-production work only, and then from May 2019 to the time of recording, which is August 2020, that will have been the production stages, which is around 15 months of development. So Morrison has been in pre-production for around 18 months, with actual production for around 15 months. Of course, they're all estimates, but that is actually more production time than Anthem and Andromeda already. Because the release date of Dragon Age 4 is around 2022 to 2023, that's 2 to 3 years of development time, assuming the pandemic hasn't screwed anything over. Even still, that is so much more time for the developers working on Dragon Age 4's actual production than what Anthem and Andromeda were given for the bulk of their production. With that development time, surely Morrison will not repeat the same mistakes of Anthem and Andromeda, as the team are chipping away into the bulk of Dragon Age 4's production. The studio have a decent deadline to ensure that this project can actually be the very best it possibly can. And actually, they also have more time to revisit ideas and play around with different concepts instead of being pigeonholed into one idea because of time restraints, which is something they had to do with both Anthem and Andromeda. This already proves that Dragon Age 4's development will not follow suit to its predecessors, that the developers working on Dragon Age 4 will have more time in the production stages, building up the bulk of the game, which they're currently in as we speak. And although the previous iteration, Joplin, was scrapped, the team learned from that entire process, which brings us to the second major downfall that BioWare have learned going forward. The next main reason behind Andromeda and Anthem's mistakes comes down to BioWare's lack of knowledge and management of the Frostbite Engine. In the video games industry, The Frostbite engine is known to be one of the most powerful engines out there and also one of the hardest to use. While Frostbite is an amazing software for engineers and BioWare's artists to go absolutely crazy with quality and fidelity as they have so many freedoms, the Frostbite engine has been made for first-person shooters and not an RPG, and with that comes many issues. To put it short, BioWare have had a hard time with the Frostbite engine. You just have to look at how long Anthem and Andromeda spent in their very early pre-production stages just working out how they could utilize the Frostbite engine to the best of their advantage, and ultimately how a lot of that time and that work was wasted and scrapped. While it is normal in games designed for revisions, reworks, and just completely changing plenty of things, BioWare in recent memory just haven't had a good game cycle. I mean, Dragon Age 2 was created in literally 14 months. BioWare have been spreading themselves way too thin recently, making fast, questionable decisions in the interest of making sure that everyone just has work to do. And because of that, when looking at Anthem and Andromeda, these games suffered through long pre-production stages, yet failed to have a unified vision, decisive leadership, and reasonable limitations. For example, BioWare Montreal spent over 3 years working on a Mass Effect Andromeda prototype, which would have had the game follow a procedurally generated world with thousands of different planets to explore, kind of in the same vein as No Man's Sky, where you would see completely different results compared to a different playthrough. They just couldn't get the system to work, and it was eventually dropped. The developers just did not have the know-how to drop this project until actually after 3 years of innovation. Not that I'm trying to knock them down, but not to mention the lack of expertise when it comes to the Frostbite engine and the fact that BioWare Montreal's first ever major project was Mass Effect Andromeda since the studio's formation in 2009. It kind of was a recipe for disaster to begin with, and while that does all sound doom and gloom, I promise you that is not the point I'm trying to make. That was back then. What about now? Well, BioWare actually had a completely new workflow for Joplin. The developers already had many tools and production pipelines in place after Dragon Age Inquisition that they had hoped to improve upon and continue using for this new project. They committed to prototyping early and rather quite often, testing as much as possible rather than alternatively waiting until everything was on fire, as they had done last time thanks to the glut of people and Frostbite difficulties. The developers were very eager to work on Joplin, and they had put their best work into it, and actually, most importantly, they had the right tools ahead of its development to tackle the Frostbite engine. They were ready for any challenge since growing accustomed to Frostbite since working on Dragon Age Inquisition, and they had the framework ready for Joplin so that any problem could find an immediate fix. Now, while Joplin was canned for a new iteration and that project is sadly scrapped, again, we don't know how much of that work will continue into Dragon Age 4, the production pipelines and tools for the next Dragon Age will remain. Which brings us to the last learning point of BioWare's Frostbite developments. The final downfall of Dragon Age Inquisition, Mass Effect Andromeda, and Anthem was the fact that each were created from absolute scratch on DICE's Frostbite engine. Absolute scratch. BioWare developers were recreating tools and assets from complete scratch for each of their projects, which led to many timely difficulties. They were not sharing any materials and resources. You see, BioWare started using the Frostbite engine with Dragon Age Inquisition's development, and I personally believe they did a phenomenal job with making an RPG on an engine that is built for first-person shooters. Like, come on. They pulled it off, and they did a really good job in my opinion. However, Anthem and Andromeda at the same time were also in the works, and the developers had only built a few certain tools to make an RPG in the engine, but not all of them. They didn't have all the resources on hand because, of course, Inquisition was in development. They were still building tools and assets that would go further for the Frostbite engine. So because of that, both Anthem and Andromeda developers had to actually redesign and create their own tools and assets to suit their own in particular niches in the Frostbite engine for their projects. For example, each of the project's animation rigs were made from absolute scratch, which explains why Anthem had really good facial animations and why Mass Effect Andromeda didn't particularly have good facial animations. And this coincides with many other features that Inquisition did have and Andromeda didn't have, because they just had to recreate every different feature from scratch. They didn't share them or didn't have a pool of resources to share because of the Frostbite engine's management. So with no preset or shared tools of development within the Frostbite engine, this made development across the board of Anthem, Dragon Age Inquisition and Andromeda increasingly difficult, which resulted in more time spent on production assets that another team already created for a different project, but didn't have the know-how to actually share those resources. However, BioWare are creating Project Morrison on Anthem's codebase and tools, which means that they will not be creating the game from scratch like Inquisition, Andromeda, and Anthem. They actually have a basis, a foundation that they are building up Dragon Age 4 on. That is amazing to hear. This means that they will not be spending production time creating tools that they had already created for other projects. They already have the tools there and they can just implement stuff into the production straight away. While some may fear about Anthem's code base relating to a hypothetical Dragon Age 4 multiplayer game, I really do not think that using Anthem's foundations is indicative of any multiplayer mode for Dragon Age 4. I simply think it means that they are just using the same foundations, the same tools, the same presets that they used to create Anthem that they are then using for Dragon Age 4. Like how Fallout 76 uses Fallout 4's engine, however then they added an online component. It's the same engine, but they then created servers and then made it suit an online method. I really think that this is going to be the exact same method for Dragon Age 4. They're just using the basic foundation of Anthem to then build up Dragon Age 4. Whatever that live service model is, we still don't actually know. And at this point in development, the developers themselves don't actually know what that may entail. But whenever we do find out, I will be sure to let you know on all of that live service multiplayer shenanigans. In summary, with an established engine and tool set and the know-how and management of the Frostbite Engine and more time to develop the next Dragon Age game, we can confidently say that the next game will not follow suit to BioWare's previous mistakes and downfalls. The fact that Dragon Age 4 is coming around 2022-2023 means that EA are actually not rushing the developers into a tight deadline, that they can actually spend as much time as they need in full production time making the best Dragon Age game possible, that they are not being rushed and that they actually have plenty of time to make revisions and to just make the best game that all of us fans want. Dragon Age Inquisition was actually created in around 3.5 years, which I think slightly includes pre-production there as well, whereas Dragon Age 4 will seemingly have around 3 to 4 years, and that's just the production. That's not even talking about the pre-production of Joplin and the pre-production of Morrison. From now till around 2022-2023, that's 3 to 4 years of actual production time, creating the main bulk of this game. And that is not even considering how much of Joplin's work may even overflow into Morrison. I think it's safe to say that, guys, Dragon Age 4 will be okay. The developers are very aware of the mistakes made by previous BioWare games, and they are very much taking them into consideration. I do not think Dragon Age 4 will make the same mistakes as Anthem or Andromeda. I think it will be absolutely okay. But do tell me down below your thoughts. What did you think about this vlog style discussion video? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know your feedback down below, because I would love to know if you like these styles of videos, if you don't, if I'm too irritating, or if you actually want to see more of them. And if you do like them, let me know what you would like to hear me discuss in the future. I'm all down for suggestions in terms of these vlog style discussion videos. But until the next one, guys, for all your things on Dragon Age 4, you're already in the right place. But until then, I have been Jackdaw, and I should go. Whoa, 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 whoa.